Today we're going to talk about a trucking company that has connections to the mob, dates back to 1918, connections to Beatles Paul McCartney, and even connections to Barbara Walters. I'm talking about New England Motor Freight. Let's go down to the office and talk about it. Well, before we get started on this video here, let me talk about the boots that I got from Brunt Workwear, and they sent them to me, wanted me to try them out and talk about them if I liked them on on a YouTube video, and I did. They sent me a pretty nice pair. They sent me exactly what I wanted to. They're super comfortable. It's still pretty hot summertime right now. I wasn't wearing them today, but I did wear them around while doing some work. But they've agreed that when I hit 10,000 subscribers, they will give a pair. I can do a giveaway, and they will give a pair of boots to whoever wins. And what will happen is I will get your information. Whoever wins, I'll get your information. We'll send it over to Brunt, and they will let you pick a pair of boots, and they'll send them out to you. And their boots run, I think they start at $139, and they seem to be worth it. But that's how we're going to do it. And the way you can win it is by just commenting on this video. Comment on this video, the ones after this, until I hit 10,000 subscribers. And I actually just hit 9,000. So probably put out a couple videos before we get this. Anybody who comments on it, as long as you're a subscriber of mine, you comment, your name is going to go on the list. Commenting extra doesn't get you anything. You only get one entry. But we'll do that, and then we will have a random number picked, and you will be the winner. So if you like the boots, might like to have a pair, you definitely want to get involved in this competition. All right, so let's get talking about New England Motor Freight. But first, just wanted to say, the room's a little bit of a mess down here. This is my office, and we've always kind of stored things down here and been in the office, but we're working on something new to where I'm doing like trucks like this one here. I already did a video on Jevic, and I'm going to keep trying to get trucks for everything, every trucking company that I do or talk about. And we're going to put walls back behind us here so everybody on the channel can enjoy them. And I'm working on gathering up the trucks, and probably in the next couple of days we're going to get some paint up, some shelves, and get started on that. So yeah, that should be fun. So pretty much my background will either be I'm in my truck and it'll be inside the Peterbilt, or it'll be trucks that I've done stories on behind me. But anyway, New England Motor Freight actually dates back to 1918. I don't know exactly what their name was then, because I read when they became New England Motor Freight in the 1950s, but I couldn't find anything about what their name was. But they were a unionized LTL carrier out of Elizabeth, New Jersey. And they were not part of the Teamsters Union. They were actually part of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, in 1918 they got started hauling for National Biscuit Company that's still with us. We know it as Nabisco. And also Fairlawn Dairies. And so sometime in the 1950s, Farmland Dairies bought Fairlawn Dairies and also bought New England Motor Freight. They're a Bergen County, New Jersey based company, and they bought up them companies. But here's the connection to my last video at Associated Transport that we have. In 1977, Farmland sold New England Motor Freight to Myron, who goes by Mike Shevel of the Shevel Group. Now, I'm going to backtrack just a little bit here. Mike Shevel, along with his brother, I get conflicting information on this as to whether they just ran Eastern Freightways or if they actually were the majority stockholders and owned Eastern Freightways. But they tried to take over Associated Transport. Now, in my last video, it says Associated Transport bought Eastern. And I'm getting both information and not getting a solid on which it was. But it seems that the Shevels tried to take over Associated Transport. And actually ended up bankrupting both companies. It sent them both into bankruptcy. And this does not look like it was done on purpose. Some of these companies, I think they bankrupt on purpose. I don't know. But this does not seem to be that way. It seems like they were a little bit too ambitious on it. So, actually, during this, Mike Chevel's brother, Dan Chevel, committed suicide. Said he actually shot himself in the head during the bankruptcy and everything. But Dan Chevel moved on and ended up buying New England Motor Freight. So here's where things might get a little bit weird. It was actually after deregulation in 1980 that most LTL companies were struggling, not doing very good at all. Mike Chevel was known as being, by the way, in the last one I said Dan Chevel continued. It was actually Mike Chevel that continued. Dan was the one I said committed suicide. Sorry about that there. But, yeah, they actually thrived after deregulation. They said that Mike Chevel was, possibly a great manager, but it started spiking some rumors about some mob relations. And this went on for a number of years. In 1988, he was actually sued by the U.S. attorney. Not sued, but he was actually indicted, I guess, on a racketeering suit. And what they were saying is that he was making payments to mobsters to end disputes, basically to end disputes. And I would imagine there's some more to that. It goes into a whole bunch of stuff. He was accused of having an 11-year corrupt relationship with Tony Provenzano. I know they called him Tony Pro. And Tony Pro was known to be part of the Genovese mob family. And Tony was a former union leader that had been convicted of racketeering and of murder. Actually, it's also, I looked a little bit more into it, and it turns out it is much believed, although the Jimmy Hoffa rumors go on forever, it is very much believed that he was the one that put the hit on Jimmy Hoffa. So that's interesting. Maybe I'll look into that story. Maybe I won't. It seems like anytime I look into anything Jimmy Hoffa, it's so speculation that it's just all over the place. Yeah, I'd rather watch the movies than go into all that much studying. But Mike Chevel ended up settling this out of court. It doesn't say it was an undisclosed amount, and it means that there was no wrongdoing. He never admitted to any wrongdoing, but ended up settling everything. So let me see what I got on my next page here. Yeah, here's where the Eastern Freightways comes in, and I just could not figure this out before, but it took a little bit of digging, and I ended up getting to it. So it seems that when Mike Chevel bought New England Motor Freight, or actually when Eastern Freightways and Associated Transport went out of business, it seems that the Chevel Group bought the rights. Probably didn't pay much for it. I mean, the company was in bankruptcy, but they bought the rights to the Eastern Freightways name. I guess the whole thing, the on the ball, with the ball, all that. And so in 1994, the Chevel Group decided to restore the name Eastern Freightways in a truckload carrier operation. And of course, that was part of New England Motor Freight. Most people knew that, but yeah, so he used the same original colors and everything. They still used the on the ball, it had a baseball in it, in the logo. And so that explains that. Seems he bought the right, ended up bringing the company back later, years later, though it wasn't the same company. And so I can't find much out about the company for a lot of years. 2002 came, Consolidated Freightways went bankrupt, and New England Motor Freight was doing good for years. But they pretty much shocked everybody in 2019 when they filed for bankruptcy. And it's considered, 2019 was considered to be the best year in trucking up until that point. We went through a couple great years. This is not one of them. But, a couple of great years with, rates being up, and they it couldn't be figured out why they were doing so bad. But they did blame it on 2 years of losses. Apparently they had lost for 2 years. They were getting more competition in the area. They talk about Saya. When they went bankrupt, they were the 19th biggest carrier. Yeah, 19th biggest carrier in the United States. And Saya was number 9 and was kind of moving into this area. I live in southeastern Pennsylvania, and I kind of remember Saya coming in a bit stronger during that time. But that was one of the things they talk about. 2 years of losses, rising overhead, and a severe shortage of drivers. We've been hearing about this driver shortage for years. People say different things about it. I don't really know. I've, been doing the same thing for a lot of years, so I don't really even notice what's going on in that aspect. But when they went bankrupt, 3,745 people lost their jobs, and that included 1,300 drivers. Also, when they went bankrupt, they had 1,500 company trucks at the time and 247 owner-operators working for them. I do remember when they went out, and when they went out, this would have been the second biggest bankruptcy in trucking ever, only to be beat by Consolidated Freightways in 2002. And now I guess New England Motor Freight is getting pushed to number 3 because Yellow Corporation is going to be the biggest ever. So let's talk about some other connections. The Beatles, Barbara Walters. We'll check all that out. All right, listen, Beatles fans. This isn't. Don't worry. I'm not going to tell you that your beloved Paul McCartney is mobbed up. He is not mobbed up at all. But the connection to New England Motor Freight is that Mike Shevel's daughter, Nancy Shevel, is married to Paul McCartney. And I found that pretty interesting. Apparently, he showed up at a company, I guess it was a Christmas party or something one time, and sang some songs. And I bet that was pretty wild. And the connection to Barbara Walters is Nancy Shevel is actually, Barbara Walters was her cousin. And so just all these weird connections on this, the mob, the Beatles, Barbara Walters. Oh, anyway. For this company, there seems to be a whole lot of information, not out there. I don't know why. I gave you guys everything that I could. But, hey, guys, I really appreciate you watching. And, again, you want to comment on this video for a chance to win a pair of Brunt work boots where they're going to let you pick them out. And they'll send you the pair that you want. But as always, please comment below, like, subscribe. I love the comments. I try to respond to every one of them. I love the stories. I get so many stories every time I drop one of these videos of people that had connections to it. And a lot of times they knew something I didn't know, or the Eastern Freightways thing. I had a lot of help with that from my watchers. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys, and I will catch you on the next one.